Thank you for staying with us. Benue government has raised the alarm over the renewed influx of herdsmen into the states, calling on security agencies to check the trend. Senior Special Assistant to the Governor, Governor Ortom, on animal husbandry, Shehu Tambaya, in the chat with newsmen in Makurdi, said he was concerned that if nothing was done to put them in check, they might break the laws of the land and disrupt the relative peace enjoyed in the states. The SSA also added that the Benue State government is not stopping anyone from coming to do business in the states, but cautioned that those who want to must do it according to the laws of the land. I noticed something. During this, election campaigns and everything, people have been silent on this farmers, herdsmen, frequent clashes, as a matter of fact. And I've not listened to any articulation on how we tend to solve this problem. Because if you're quiet about it, we'll still meet it there. And it will continue if we don't have a definitive pathway to achieve peace
between the two sides.
Yes.
But we must also admit the fact that the clash is reduced ordinarily. And I think it's because we started talking about it. We must give ourselves some kudos. You see, the discussions, the voices went up, and everybody became aware of the dangers of these farmer-herder clashes. And then the issues were largely discussed. If some people feel I can move my animal through any route with no respect for whatever it is you have planted on the way, then they needed to be told that, look, the laws or whatever right you rely on also belongs to the farmers. They have a right to plant and be allowed to harvest without your cow. Trampling over their yields. So I think we discussed this issue as a nation to the point of realization. And that probably made some people or some of the parties involved to be more cautious. Having said that, the election period too is a time when people's attention are on the future of the country. It is not as if these things weren't happening. There are still cases here and there, but the attention is on who takes the mantle next, who rule this country next, and those issues became more topical. But coming from Benue today is this alarm, as I want to call it. Benue is one state where the decision to tackle unguided roaming of cows was really top-notch. The government went all out. There were clashes, there were disagreements, there were threats.
They have a law to that effect.
They ensure there is a law to that, and they had officers to implement the law. There is a squad, rangers or something, that they put in place. If you find any cow not properly being groomed, you take him off, take the cow off the street. So they have done enough to checkmate what became a menace in their state. So if they are noticing some sort of recurrence, it is important that they speak up, and I think that's what the government is doing. There is no way we will allow cows to move unrestricted. It's not about the Benue alone. In any part of the country. At the period when farmers-herders clash was at the peak, the issue of food supply dwindling came up. Farmers could no longer plant with the hope of harvesting. Cows and their herders would do damage to the farms. So Benue and other states like Ondo have led the way in the issue of legislation, using legislation to tackle this problem. I think as a country, we need to take that issue up, there must be legislations on the matter of movement of cows and how farmers will be protected from the results of unguarded herding. So it is obvious that in Benue, if this kind of alarm is not sounded, there will be fresh clashes. These are things we cannot afford. If you are coming in to do business in any part of the country, yes, we are a country, and you have freedom of movement, freedom of association. But where your right starts, or where your right ends, is where someone else's zone starts. Your right as a herder to move anywhere in the country cannot violate freely my right as a farmer to own a farm, land, and plant and harvest. It's also my right. So your right cannot take away my own right. And until we get to a point where we're able to balance these rights and privileges, as it were, we'll keep having issues of this nature. So I commend the government of Benue State for what they've done before, what they are doing, and what they will still do. Because if adequate effort is not made to ensure that herders don't trample on the rights of farmers, there will be clashes. And when we have clashes, lives and properties will be lost. And it's better we prevent that before, having to do remedials.
And don't you think some people will feel that Governor Ortom has gone too far with this campaign, that there are better ways to resolve things amicably between the farmers and the herders?
You're right. The absence of law, the alternative is cows. That's the fact. So if he doesn't make the law and decide to take the law into his hands and now starts seeing his people attacking herders, and we've forgotten so quickly how Benue cities were being killed in their tens and hundreds. There was a particular occasion where about 70-something people were given mass burial
on New Year Day.
On New Year Day in Benue. It wasn't once, it wasn't twice, several times. And it was the herders farmers clash. And the best they could have done under the circumstances, which some of us still support, is the enactment of the anti-grazing law. That in itself has checkmated so many things in Benue and Ondo and maybe one or two other states. And you are asking why this there seems to be a lull in such attack. There could be so many. One, the body language of our leaders. Most wittingly or unwittingly, some of these people, especially the headers, believe that they are untouchable because they have certain godfathers who will always speak for them, or who are within power, who can be able to do anything on their behalf, so they can go ahead and commit blood murder and get away with it. You could also realize some of the statements attributed to Mieti Allah, which of course we have not been hearing of late. You remember the talks then and the rest of them. It went as far as where even some spokesmen of government were saying that certain people are the owners of the land. You have to leave them to do whatever. It is not done. The issue is that if you are coming to my place, come in a way and manner that I, the owner of my, can receive you. If Daddy is coming to my house, before I enter my house, he will knock at the gate. I will open the gate for him to come in. Will Daddy decide to jump the fence?
I have a bay and
He thought that you enter my that one.
I don't have to knock.
But that's unusual. But then you enter with the, you know what I mean? I get inside house. So because one go, let's draw. But seriously, the fact remains. And you know the problem with this is because the economic factor to it. Yeah. Because of these incessant attacks, we have seen a whole lot of problem coming from the food baskets, where farmers are not going to the farm. They get to the farm, they are killed and are kidnapped. And so not only in Benue, Taraba, and so many other, even in certain states in the northeast, where farmers don't no longer go to the farm, where they just get kidnapped and the rest of them. They pay taxes and the rest of them. That in itself is telling on food prices in the market. If you go and see the prices of rice, even the locally made rice, Yeah. If you see onion, if you see tomatoes, if you see pepper and the rest of them, you will come to realize that some of these that is the issue. So it is good that the Benue State government have raised the alarm. Now it is for the security agents also to lap into this, to see whether it is a false alarm or that whether the alarm being raised by the government of Benue State is genuine, so that tomorrow we will not have a situation where Ajekelini, Omokulola, there were instances where we have such security reports where there are security report that was going to be attacked of a prison facility in Kogi State. How many? About 40, according to Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Nothing was done. Then we saw the attack. And there have been so many other like that. So I think this is a wake-up call for the security agencies to make sure that this does not occur again. Why? But you have to also realize that this is the period these herdsmen migrate. Yeah. This is the period.
In search of
pasture. This is the time they migrate. So yes, they move
down south.
Because they move down south for pastures for their this thing. Most of them don't have any other thing than moving this.
But they can move in line with the laws of that state.
But you not even the state. It was agreed at a point that federal government also came up with a policy that we should start keeping all this thing in what do you call them now? Yes. The Ruga, yes.
But we are yet to implement
that. That is it. That was this Ruga. Money was voted.
Some states did not
agree.
They expect that.
And then you know, Ezekiel, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
We are yet to do Ruga. Ranching, we are yet to
ranching. That's the one I was looking for.
Cow, we must eat. Grass, cow must shop. Well, how do we handle this? Because they must move in search of pasture. That is why I think, why we hope to graduate to the level of ranching and Ruga eventually. Let us encourage legislations. Okay, if you must move through my state, this is the area you can pass. This is how you can move. We can't stop them ordinarily, sincerely. But let us legislate in a manner that they would know their limits, their bounds.
Grazing areas.
Grazing areas. It used to, growing up, I mean, as a child with my grandmother in the village, there were some parts of our time, that we know that this is where Fulani people pass. Yeah. If you want to buy wara in those days, you know where to go. Yeah. If you take vehicle towards Orileoko, around the Shara, we know that you will find them there. And they will sell for you, either waiting for their husband to come from grazing or they just left. And everybody cohabit, peacefully. But we must still go back to that manner of relationship.
Just a second. I'll have to tell you. Yes. We look.
Let me. When we come back,
okay,
we'll talk more. To the point before we go into that break.
Yes. I was about saying that the fact remains that most of those cows that you see on the street are not owned by those young men you see moving around with them. They are owned by very rich men, mostly in the north and even in the south. They just lease them, I don't know what I would call it, lease out or whatever, just allow them to take them out on pastures and they pay them and rest. But majority of those cows, which is why I believe that this issue of ranching can be exploited. We can look at it and make sure that, because if you see the damage these cows, what they do, if you see, you remember who was in Ondo, Olufalaye was shot, was almost killed in his farm. Yes. There were also other instances where certain individuals couldn't go to their farm because of herdsmen and rest of them. And those areas. Exactly. Even in the southeast, there have been instances where you see people clashing with different. So I think this should be an issue that should be addressed once and for all.